Hey guys, Rachel here, and I'm joined by my online client, Jen. We recently finished our first HYROX down in Houston a few days ago, and we've been getting a lot of questions around the race, our experience, prepping for it, and even though it was both of ours first time participating in something like that, we thought we would make a video to answer sort of the questions that we're having come in and see just if we can help anyone who's thinking about doing it.
Yeah, so first of all, I mean, it's kind of a weird word. I've had people like, is it HYROX? Is it a mountain climbing competition?
Yes.
So it is kind of a new thing. It's called HYROX. It originated in Europe, so it's like a bigger deal in Europe. And of course, it's here in the US now, but I think it's like most people are not even aware of what it is. So how would you describe what it is? It's a little complicated.
So exactly, and that's the first thing people say is, what is it? What is it? So I definitely would just term it as an endurance race because there is some length to it. Obviously, people do it pretty quickly, but there's some length to it. It's not quite a mud runner. Oh my God.
Mud, what? I don't even know what the mud runner.
Wait, no, I can't even think of it. Anyways, it's not outdoors with obstacles and mud. It's indoor, it's contained. It's not just a race. It's not cross country. There's a lot of running involved, but there are also exercises, easier ones, not very technical ones. So you basically run, you do your exercise station, you run, you do your exercise station. So that's how I would describe it.
Yeah, and people have asked, like, is this like CrossFit, like the CrossFit Games? I'm not uber familiar. I did do CrossFit for a very short time. I guess in some ways it's similar in the sense of like you have to have strength to do these things.
Right.
But like she said, I mean, it's not a highly technical race. Kind of anyone could do these different stations if you have the strength and the endurance to do that and also run.
Exactly.
So
not
you can
as
look up the actual race, but
yes, not as demanding as CrossFit. Not as much strength needed. Not as technical. A lot of the things I guess would be even termed body weight. But you do need strength, and you're doing these exercises coming off the run, so it's not easy. It's not easy.
Okay, so let's talk about our journey to HYROX. I didn't even know what this was 3 months ago, is the reality. So 3 months ago, Rachel, I'm sure she had heard about it before. I hadn't really heard about it, but she asked me if I wanted to do it, and the plan was to do the 4-person relay. The 4-person relay is very different from what we ended up doing.
Yes, found this out later.
This week of spring break, so a lot of people had scheduling conflicts and stuff, and so we ended up doing the doubles race, which we, again, won't go into the technicalities of all this, but is harder than the relay.
There's more work involved.
Yeah, I say not necessarily harder because you're going faster with other stuff.
Yeah.
But anyways, okay, so 3 months ago, we signed up to do it.
Yeah.
Would you advise just like your average person to do this? Like, what do you think from a professional standpoint?
So now that I've done one, and going back to when we were sort of looking for 2 other people, you need some strength. You need some background. You need to be doing some cardio, running training. Obviously, there's all different levels and how you want to end up, and people just want to complete it and maybe just getting through it and doing it slowly. But if you want to show up and do your best, definitely recommend coming in with some strength training and cardio and running. So it's not something you want to just decide to do in a weekend. I feel like I'm fairly in shape starting out, and it was not easy if you're going at it trying to do your best. So definitely give some preparation to it. Like I said, even if you are Jen with strength training, she wasn't doing the cardio piece. She has a lot of background in that, but even so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like she said, I actually do have background as a runner, but this is like way back. And so I think for me, running kind of comes a little naturally. However, I really was doing 0 cardio at the point of starting the training 3 months ago. So I had been strength training just on a very specific plan with Rachel. I think that was like an amazing foundation, but the cardio piece is intense. And but I feel like I was able to train for that again with her guidance within 3 months, and we did well at the race. So I feel good about like what we did.
Yeah.
And that really leads me to believe that a lot of people, like with intentional training and with the support of someone that knows what they're doing, I think a lot of people could do this if they wanted to.
For sure. And even in the 3-month window thing of preparation, you have to think about, like, you can only get so many training sessions in a week for a lot of reasons. One, we all have jobs and families and careers. We're not full-time athletes. So we can't be in the gym maybe 5-6 times a week, 2-3 hours a day, our recovery session this, our cardio training that, you know. So given the time that we had, right, because if you had 6 months, you just get more under your belt. But we're doing maybe 2 of these workouts, HYROX workouts, maybe 2 strength. You know, you're trying not to die or be exhausted, or then you're sore and you have to work. So, you know, even though it's 3 months, you can't just train, you know, every day or I can't keep up with that. So,
yeah, for
yeah.
sure. One of the other things that I would say related to preparation and like training, so going from straight strength training to like incorporating more high intensity workouts, more cardio, I had to, and I remember the first workout that we did like this, and it was hard, like your body has to adjust. But Rachel texted me and she's like, hey, just so you know, make sure you're eating, I don't even know what it was now, like at least 50 grams of carbs ahead of time. And I was like, oh no, what are we getting into? But it was actually really, like, I would not have thought about that because I'm used to eating like high protein, maybe a little bit lower carb. But I will say, like, if I was doing this on my own, I would not have thought about stuff like this. And that was like good advice. And I, in general, have been eating more carbs because that's what's burning. I mean, you know, the professional opinion on all that, but like that was helpful because I would not have probably adjusted the way I was eating.
So nutrition is always so important to add to our strength training or any type of exercise, really. And there's different things that you tweak with it when you're tending towards more endurance, or like Jen said, high intensity. You're burning pretty much all carbs at that point. So you don't want to waltz in the gym for one of these training sessions, you know, having had a slice of toast. It's just, you're gonna tank. You're not gonna have the energy, and maybe you get through the session. Also for recovery, carbs are massively important. So I don't just want to like talk about carbs, but with endurance, you know, it's heavily, your carbs probably increase significantly. So that's the other thing. If you're planning to do one of these, plan to maybe know that you're going to have to be a little more intentional about your nutrition. Like Jen obviously had a really good base, but it's a different when you're coming to strength train a couple of times a week. And so when you plan to train for one of these, there's no, oh, I didn't feel like eating breakfast this morning, or, you know, I've been at my computer for 8 hours and I forgot. So that's another thing just to know in advance. If you want to do well, feel well, perform well, that's going to take a little, probably more effort than you're used to.
But at the same time, if you like carbs and you don't mind some heavy breathing at times, you should do this.
This is for you.
You should do this because I have gotten to enjoy bagels and like stuff that I was really not eating that much of before. Not because I was trying to lose weight or something, but just I wasn't eating low carb, but I wasn't eating as many carbs as I am now. And I'm like, oh, I'm running and all this stuff. So that was super helpful.
It all depends on what, you know, your body is going to utilize. And just going back a step, because I'm just thinking of this, of how this came about, was I had heard of HYROX, like, I don't even know, maybe a year or two ago, and then had just completely forgotten about it, if I'm being honest. And then a trainer at Gold's had done one and posted it. So then I was like, oh, and a while back, I was wanting to do a powerlifting competition, but then some things happened with that, and my shoulder, and I'm a competitor. Like, I have grown up a competitor, so it just sparked the thing of like, what a great team building, get a few clients. That's how it started with the 4. This is gonna be great. Also, we all know the day in and day out of going to the gym, it's fun to have something that you're working towards. And if you have any sort of a, you know, competition nature, it's exciting. So that's kind of how it came about, and I was just, this will be a great thing to get a few little group to do. That's how we got into the relay. Couldn't find the other 2 people. Jen ended up signing up for something a little different, but in all honesty, I didn't realize that either at the time. I didn't know the difference between the 2, I will say.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's a pretty big difference.
Yeah.
One, you're running 8 1Ks and doing all the strength things.
Yeah.
and one you're doing 2. So
Yeah.
we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
It's funny now, but when you're training, it's not fun.
I guess it's the benefit of not knowing.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a good point. I think for people that like struggle with the discipline maybe, or like the motivation to go in the gym, they're just forcing themselves every time.
Yeah.
I think to have, regardless of like your starting fitness level, I think to have something to work towards, and it's like a very rewarding feeling when you're done, even if you don't place, even if you whatever, like that you did it and you committed to it. I mean, we talk about that a lot. Like, I would recommend it even just for that, because to be honest with you, the strength training, like you see the payoffs just by being able to lift more. But for me, this was super motivating to be very consistent with the gym, because I was getting a little like, not bored, but I needed some variety of something. So it's been really helpful.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to change things up, even if you are primarily a strength athlete, which I myself feel like I will always be. Like, I had a blast. Will I do another one? Yes. Will I do them back to back? And no. But it's a goal, it's a game, it's something to work towards. You can do it with like-minded people who are doing it. You know what I mean? It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
You've accomplished something wonderful.
And I will say just about, and we may get into this in a little bit, but the culture that it feels like HYROX is trying to cultivate is very inclusive of like a person that's an elite athlete that literally is a professional athlete, and like this is all they do, and then like me, that I'm maybe somewhere in the middle. I'm definitely not an elite, but I'm maybe not the most out of shape person. But I feel like even our experience at the race, and we'll get into that in a little bit, but it feels like everyone's cheering everyone on. It doesn't really matter. You don't even know what place you're in when you're going. Like, it doesn't even, you have no idea.
There's not areas. Everyone's mixed together. Like, you're walking around, you know what I mean? It's not like this is where this people go. You're all on the same track. You're all using the same exercises. You even start, like, there's just heats going every 10 minutes. So it's hard to tell which side is up, which is probably good.
So if you're, I mean, I think a lot of people fear doing things like this because they're like, oh, I'm going to be last, or like, I'm going to look like a loser. Like, honestly, literally no one will know.
No.
Because there's so many people doing so many things at one time, and you've got spectators all over the whole course cheering everyone on, even people they don't know. So I just wouldn't worry about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so some of you are thinking, like, I kind of want to try this. You know, it's kind of me. What would you recommend for someone's, like, first steps?
Yeah.
First of all, just sign up. I don't even think you can back out. You probably can, but just sign up.
Yeah.
That's the first thing.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
you kind of commit
they
to
do
it.
sell out fast. I just got a notification.
Yeah.
Anyways, so first of all, the next one that we know that will be local, I'm pretty sure there's one in Dallas again this year in November. Just throwing that out to anyone who's around here. Secondly, I would definitely reach out to someone who, of course, it depends where you're starting from, if you're training at all now, but even like I said, maybe you're a gym goer, what have you, but you're like, I want to do this HYROX. I would reach out to a coach, because you're going to need to have specific workouts that not only simulate some of the exercises, but just the length of time you could be expected to be going in these higher heart rate zones, stuff of that, you know, incorporating cardio if you're not, or incorporating strength if you're just a cardio person, because that's huge too. Even if you're just a great runner and then you're really slow on the exercises, that won't serve you.
Yeah, I mean,
also, we had a lot of questions just around it. So finding someone who's done one at least is even better. They can tell you what to expect, which is kind of why we're making this video.
yeah. I mean, I think there's good resources out there. Like, I'm a researcher. I like to figure stuff out. So I kind of looked on YouTube and whatever and watched a ton of those. But I will say, from my personal experience, so Rachel is my coach. We work together actually online, which means she every week like loads all of my workouts in for the week, and then she's available for nutrition questions and support and all kinds of other stuff. But that was really helpful, because I don't know where I would have even started with all those videos. Some people are like, you should run this much and run this much, and like, I just didn't. It can be kind of overwhelming. So I would say, if you have the ability to hire someone to just help not only customize the workouts for you, but also support you through the nutrition piece and just like keep you going, because the first few workouts like this do not feel good. I mean, I cannot even tell you, probably the first month I was questioning the decision in the first place, because like your body has to adjust to doing this, and like being at a high heart rate for a long amount of time is kind of the name of the game, and it's not easy. So even to have a person like, you will survive, the accountability piece I think is really valuable. And this is coming from a person that is actually very self-motivated. I still think that has been really helpful.
And then they might have other people who are training that can kind of, you know, you just kind of can set up this camaraderie, or people to check in with, or to train with, or to do a doubles with, or a relay with. That, to me, that would be the best. I mean, I would not want to do one on my own as my first. So on one of your first races too, because I mean, there's a lot going on out on that track, from navigating your way on the course to remembering the laps that you've run. And like I said, you're not out there with you and your partner. There's everyone else running the race, bodies, officials, spectators all around you. So to me, it was wonderful to have another person, not to mention you're getting delirious, you're getting tired. So to just throw things off of whether it's what station you're going to next, how many laps you've completed, I would definitely suggest doing it with a person or a group.
So the options for you to start off, and the recommendation is either doubles or there is a relay, which we don't have experience with the relay, but that would be another thing of like doing it with someone else. I 100%
cheering each other on.
I don't know that I would do that
20 more wall balls
myself. I mean, in the wall balls, the clicker person that's counting them was just sitting there like in love and not saying the number. And I mean, usually I'm okay counting for myself, but you don't know, there's some that don't count, so you don't know where you are. And towards the end, I was like, can someone please tell me the number? Because you're at the end. And I was like, it's going to be more motivating for me if I can know how many I have left. So anyway.
That was good.
Okay, so that's, I think, all we have to say about kind of leading up to the event and kind of maybe who should think about it, why you should do it, etc.
The next piece will be sort of the few days leading up to the event. I guess what we did with our training, with our nutrition, you know, and then literally right up to the race. So that last week, I feel like we definitely had some taper sessions, a few of the HYROX workouts, but not as lengthy.
What does that mean for an average person?
That just means like instead of maybe your hour 15, hour 20 going hard, you're sort of doing a shortened version. So keep the body moving. You don't want to have like not done anything for a week and then stroll in there. I personally was just trying to stay limber. So some shortened, maybe 30, 45 minutes, some lighter jogs, but we're not doing any like massive distance runs. You don't want to go into this being sore, at least I didn't, because that can make some of those exercises feel quite a bit worse if you're tight or sore. So just walking, shorter runs, shorter workouts. You don't want to feel super taxed or tired the day of the race.
I think the temptation is like, I'm gonna do nothing. Which is probably not a good plan, because going from nothing to like way heightened intensity, I don't know. It sounds like it's not a good plan. I don't really know if that's the case, but I don't feel like it would have been good.
You want to keep tissues in the body moving, the blood circulating through everything. So no, that would not be a good idea. And then nutrition, you want to be sort of stacking food, or at least, you know, eating at maintenance, probably having a few higher carb days leading up to, called carb loading. Again, this isn't a 3 or 4 hour race. Well, I guess it could be, depending how you go, but
very likely.
So
for you, it's not.
You know, you're not doing a marathon, but you know, you want to have your carb storage fully stocked. Like I said, you're in the very higher upper zones of your heart rate, so you are using that fuel source, right? So just making sure that's on point leading up to, nutrition wise, you're sleeping well, you're hydrating a lot was the other thing, because I kind of wanted to pare that down the day of the race. I was really afraid that I was gonna have to pee in the middle of the race, because as you know, all we do is pound water all day.
Because we're preparing for a 90-minute,
Yeah.
basically. Like, that's kind of what we thought
Yes.
we might be able to do.
Yeah.
We didn't know, but...
So you're not wanting to stop, to take a bathroom break. So the idea was to just be super hydrated. I mean, I always am pretty decently, but electrolytes, lots of water a few days leading up, so that at some point, the other thing was we didn't race till later in the day too, so it's not like you wake up and go. Anyway, so we could kind of sip the first half of the day. So that's kind of, and then not really introducing any new foods, anything crazy, eating out, trying something different. At this point, earlier when we were training leading up to it, and Jen had questions around nutrition, we would discuss carbs, but there is a personal factor to it. So what might feel well in my stomach and I can go train on might not be for her. So obviously we have this list of sort of suggestions, but then it's a little bit of like, try it out. And something she did during these training times to find meals that feel good to her, that feel like she's performing well on it, that doesn't feel like she's just eating a brick, that sustained her energy throughout. So by this point in the game, that should all sort of be figured out. So then you're just rolling with everything that's very familiar for your stomach. So that would be the last thing I would say, is not introducing, try not to eat out a big greasy meal. All of a sudden it's like, what? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it really is like a trial and error. I feel like I kind of found like oatmeal is a thing that I didn't even really like that much before, but now I'm eating it almost every day. But I had to like test out not only what I was eating, but also like the length of time before the workout hit, and like how it was digested at that point. So it sounds overly scientific. It's actually not. But again, I will emphasize, it's helpful to have a person that knows what the heck they're doing with this stuff to bounce ideas off of, because I'm sure I could have figured some of this stuff out on my own, but I am very grateful that I didn't have to. It's like, should I eat 2 hours before, 1 hour before? And so Rachel has expertise in that, so it was helpful just to have another person to bounce ideas off of.
Yeah. So that's what we did sort of leading up to. And then we got down to Houston the night before the race. Our start time, they post your start time, I think maybe the day before. I'm not sure, depending, again, which sort of, I guess I'll call it a division that you're doing. So our start time wasn't until almost 3 p.m., which was a little, we were glad not to be super early because you want to sleep well, eat, get some meals in, all that stuff, but it was also a little late. So
just to pause real quick.
Yeah.
We run into this guy at the restaurant the night before.
At dinner.
Dinner. Super nice guy. Yeah. And he's like drinking wine. We're like, well, when is your race? I think he was racing at like 8 o'clock. Yeah. And he's drinking wine. We're like, have our water on the bar counter. And
no, what was funny is he looks over at me and goes, hey, you guys racing tomorrow? And I was like, did I say something? And he goes, oh, well, you're not drinking or something like that. You've got waters, you're not drinking. And it was funny because he was drinking and then he was racing and he was also going. We were
sitting at the actual bar. That's the only place that was available to eat at this restaurant. So
that was funny.
That is one thing, like, I feel like the people we interacted with, and I think it's just this realm, but super nice, willing to lend their expertise. Yeah. He had done it many times before, so we literally
tons of questions.
Yeah, we sat there and we're like, what would you do for this? Because we have no idea what we're doing as far as like the actual race is concerned. So, it was fun.
Yeah. So the next morning we wake up, we go walk and get coffee, do a little walking, just again trying to stay moving. We had sort of a long amount of time, so we did. Sort of leading, I guess, that morning. Again, I don't know if we'd have done this exactly if we had gone first, but we did some walking, then we did some yoga and stretching. It's kind of just killing time. You could have probably condensed this into one thing. Then we actually went up to our treadmill gym in the hotel and did like a mile run. Again, just loosening up. Sometimes, you just have those pains or creaks that work out in the first little bit, so we were trying to avoid having that being done while you're racing. So we did that, and then I think what we did with our nutrition, you kind of did the same thing. We just had that breakfast, and then I had a few other, mostly carbohydrate foods, a little bit of protein, but it was funny because I'm always super high in protein. And I was like, this is the lowest my protein's ever been. which felt weird for me. So I think we decided to stop eating around 12, just to make sure, to me, there's no worse feeling than being full.
So that was 3 hours before the race.
Yeah, 3 hours before the race. And I think that last meal, I maybe had like a yogurt with some granola and some fruit or Pop-Tart. I can't remember. I can't remember. Maybe a Pop-Tart.
We both have Pop-Tarts,
Yeah.
and then it's like the one day I gave myself a free pass of like, yes,
It was
this
delicious.
is awesome. It was
I
good.
had a date somewhere in that point. Maybe I had a little pineapple.
But what's the general idea as far as like thinking about like why Pop-Tart? Why a date? Like why?
Okay, so you want like a quick rush of carbohydrates for me, and then also, for instance, I could have a massive bowl of pasta. So I want something that's gonna take up this much room in my stomach and give me this much energy. It was basically my goal with that, and that being that close. And again, in the morning, we had some carbohydrates that would last us a little longer. So you want sort of a combination of that. I think we also we didn't stop drinking at that point, but in the morning too, for liquids, I had chosen I think it was about 40 ounces that I was gonna sip from there, which is, maybe a third of what I would normally have had by that time in a day. So I just, didn't drink anything, but I did try to drink less, to prevent what I spoke about earlier, which worked very well, by the way.
Yeah.
So we did that. We also had some gel packs, some carb gel packs that were just like 20 grams of carbs that we did, just like a can't hurt type of a thing. It might have been overkill. One before, and then one like in our 4th exercise station.
Yeah, we did it right after kind of the very, very challenging little segment.
Yes.
That's very taxing. So I think that was good. It's like, I don't know because I haven't done it without it.
Right. There's not enough. We tried it
It
one
seemed
time
great.
in training,
Yeah.
like at one of our longer sessions. Again, you don't know exactly till you've maybe done this a million times or done it without and with and had a very clear difference. I think it definitely makes a difference because we typically exercise, 60, maybe 70 minutes, and it's really getting over that last hump, which of course I guess it didn't take us quite as long as we thought either. But anyways, it's like a can't hurt type of a deal.
Yeah. So I basically followed the same protocol, for lack of a better word, on nutrition and water. I think I ate a Pop-Tart like an hour and a half before, something like that, because I was getting hungry. I was like, this is not good. Like, I don't want to be hungry. I don't want to be full, but I don't want to be hungry. So I did that, and then I also had a cold brew coffee, which has the highest amount of caffeine, like 30 minutes to an hour before I kind of drank it in that window, and I felt great. Like, it kicked in for sure.
I did have
and I looked at my hand, it's like shaking a little bit. So I don't usually do that. Actually, I never do that late in the day, but
Yeah.
I read a little bit about caffeine. They're like, this is kind of the window when it kicks in, and for like athletic performance, that's a proven thing that could help. So I was like, well, use all the help I can get.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna do it.
But during the race, I felt great. I think everything I did worked. I didn't have to use the restroom. I didn't feel full. I had plenty of energy. I didn't have any cramping or feelings of dehydration. So I think that was a win.
Let's talk a little bit about, so because the race itself has a lot of components and it can be confusing, not gonna lie. We did kind of study the map of the facility in advance. They always send out like a site map that has like, here's where the stations are, and here's how it's organized, and here's where you run, and here's where you enter. I would recommend, I know study, like who wants to study, but at least look at it. Look at the map in advance, because the reality is when you're doing it, you're gonna be freaking tired and out of it. And you think like, oh, it's so simple to do this. Well, it's really not when you're out of it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of other things going on. It's not just you and your partner out there.
Yeah, I mean, you're like, if you're running faster than other people, you're having to navigate like, how do we get around people? It's kind of a skinny lane. So you're thinking about other stuff.
Yeah. I think every time too they set these races up, again, from what I know, is it's pretty much the same, but it can vary depending on the space that they're utilizing. So you're always going to have the track, you're probably are going to have the exercise station set up in the middle, but where you enter and where you go out and where you come in and out of your run and all this stuff can be slightly different, I think, from venue to venue.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
The other thing is we heard, and it's kind of laughable. You hear people talk about counting the laps, right? So like for our race, and again, it's different for every facility, venue, it's like 2.8 laps each time. We're like, who cannot count to 3? How is this hard? Well, it is hard, actually. Sometimes, like after some of those strength stations, you are out of it.
Yeah.
Very out of it. And so what they recommended doing and what we did, and I think it worked really well, was every time, like you're starting at 0, and every time you pass kind of where you came in, one of you or both of you or whatever, hold up a finger of the lap that you're on. So that's what we did every time. And I remember a few times I looked at Rachel and I was like, this is number 2, right? I mean, because really you're so focused on like keeping your speed up, all these other things, that it can get confusing.
And the laps are pretty far. Like this isn't like a quick little spin around where you're like, okay, 2. Like there's a lot of time in there for your mind to wander. You know what I mean? Again, other people. So yeah, it's the same. Like she would say it to me mostly. She was usually ahead of me, and then we would hold the finger out that we were on. But yeah, it was kind of funny going into it because there was like we heard plenty of times people being like, just don't lose track of your lap because you get penalized. If you're short, you know what I mean? And then, of course, I don't know who would want to do an extra, but if you're short, you get a massive penalty.
Yeah.
So you don't want to, but yeah, it was funny. We were kind of like, okay, with the laps, like how hard?
Yeah, so if you're watching this and you're coming up with your race day strategy, the finger method
Works.
highly recommend. And really, it sounds dumb.
Yeah.
Like, I was a finance minor. I should be able to do numbers, but
You'll see what you get.
Your head is a little, especially towards the end, it kind of everything blurs together and you're focused on pushing your body. You're not focused on what lap I'm on or anything else that's not important. You are like, it is out of your mind.
Yeah.
So,
and there's no really like people there directing you at the stations. There are a bit, because obviously they're monitoring some stuff and they'll kind of like shoot you down to the end one. They want you to come down the furthest, but no one's navigating the running or the laps whatsoever.
or telling you where to go for the next strength station. Like they do have these big blown up entry points that have a number on it. But again, are you remembering if you're on number 4 or 5? You probably aren't.
Even that.
And so recommendation would be to try to memorize the order
Of the exercises.
just because you don't want to be thinking about anything in the moment. You want it to be almost like second nature.
Yeah.
And I looked at the map and it was like, okay, in general, the first 3 times we're going to the right. That's where these are. And these times we're going to the left. And
even
even
having out is a little different each time.
Yeah, even having done that, there was one time I think we got a little confused on where it was.
Because it was like tucked in the middle.
So
Near
all that
another
to say,
one.
like I think if you've done other races and stuff, it's not, you need to study this one.
Yeah.
Just,
It's coming
it's
from
not
a
to
first
freak you
experience.
out, but like
Yeah.
really,
It's not
it just
nothing.
will make things easier and you'll be faster because you're not slowed down of like, where is this one?
Yeah.
And you're thinking about it. I can imagine that that would slow you down. actually.
Seconds off
So-
your time. The other thing is the in and the out of the running of your laps are kind of those same balloon things, overhead arches, bigger. But you have to go every time in the in one and out the out one, because I'm sure that's how they track your laps and it's all censored. But that is another thing where you can be like, oops, did I go in the wrong one? So there's just a lot to pay attention to besides like, oh, go run in that circle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. And this is just an interesting factor. So, and I think this is the case for all the venues. So where everyone, spectators and athletes, go in to the whole facility, you have to cross over the track where all the people are running.
Yeah.
And there's people like kind of guiding them like, go, 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 go now. Or like, don't go, they're coming. So as the athlete running, and you're out of it, and it's tiring, and you're like getting up to it, and there's people running. Like it's kind of crazy. Like it's kind of chaotic, is what the whole environment. Like to me, that's kind of fun, but it's a little chaotic.
There's loud music blaring. I mean,
There's spectators kind of all over the place. It's not like they're all up in the grandstands. Like they are close
right next
to where you are, which is kind of cool, actually. So.
Okay, so race is over. How do you feel?
Well, before we do that, I want to hear what was the hardest part of the race for you? Or like was there a certain station?
Yeah.
Was there like, a certain point in the race? Like,
yes, hands down for me, I do not like burpees. I will never like burpees. I think they're the worst exercise, if you can call them that, ever invented. To be honest, all the strength exercises did not feel challenging for me, which again, you train with different weights. So sometimes in training, and maybe that worked to my benefit, things were heavier. And I was like, whew, we pushed some sleds that were way heavier in training. So, I actually liked all of them. I don't have a complaint about the lunges. We thought maybe would be a little harder. Those were not hard. The carries, not hard. The sled pull and push, not hard. But burpees, I mean, I think I did okay, but I don't like them. I don't like them.
I don't know. I mean, some people do like them. I don't know.
I don't.
Those are weird people.
Yeah.
Okay,
what
for
about
me,
you?
I mean, I'm not as strong as Rachel, so I would say they were hard for me, a lot of them. The ones that I thought would be harder were not that hard to me, which was great. And then for sure the sled pull. And you kind of think of like, it's just your arms, but it actually, like, you're backing it up with your legs. Like, honestly, I felt really terrible.
I will say a couple things about the sled. Jen hardly got to practice that because we just don't have that at our disposal very much. So she hardly got to practice that. And then that is an awkward one because you're navigating the rope. And at first they told us the partner cannot touch the rope at all. So you're tripping over the rope. You have to stay in this little box on top of it being hard. And then like midway through one of Jen's, because you have to go like 4 times, the guy told me I could kick the rope out of her way, like the excess rope. I just couldn't touch it with my hands, which I'm not sure I really see the difference there. So again, if your partner is able to get the tripping out of the way, it could make it a little easier. But definitely it's not an easy, and like you said, it's your arms, but it's also your legs.
Yeah, like practice it for sure, because there's some like technique actually involved. I wish I had more, but whatever. But then just watching some other stuff, I have heard people say like that actually does require the most from you, like kind of. So that the 2 sleds are in a row, the pushing and the pulling, and then the burpees are right after that. And it's like, if you can get through the gauntlet of those crazy things, like you'll probably be okay.
Which I agree, those are the 3 hardest.
But I mean, you have to think about like, you're not just doing these things, you're running immediately afterwards. So we kind of set it up to where I was doing the end of the strength stuff and then running immediately. So I will say after the sled pull, I just was like, I think I told her like, I gotta slow down.
I was like, okay.
And that was the only time that I really felt like, am I gonna walk? I don't know. So
it's funny because she said that, and in the time I'm like, I didn't sense that at all from you. Like I remember her saying that, but there was never a time where I felt like, oh, Jen's struggling, or is Jen good? You know what I mean? Like, so she carried it well, however you want to say it. But yeah, Jen got the brunt of the running directly off the exercises because she's the stronger runner. We decided that would be good. And then coming into exercises, I would take the first strength, which I think that was a good compliment.
It worked out
of each other.
Yeah.
Because I needed that. If you would have asked me to run after I probably could have never kept up with Jen if I didn't have that little second.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reality is, and I've seen people talk about this, and I found this to be true. The reality is when you're coming straight off the strength station, and sometimes your legs feel very heavy and whatever, you kind of just know for about 30 seconds, it's gonna suck. And you mentally just have to say like, I just gotta go. I'm gonna run and I know that I will eventually recover.
I was gonna say, that's
and you just go, and it does not feel good, but you just mentally, a lot of this I feel like it's a mental game. you have to just believe that your body will recover eventually, and it's not going to feel good for a short amount of time, but you just have to go. Like, we could have walked fine, but that's kind of part of the test.
Yeah, and that's essentially something that you can train, just like you train recovery. The only difference here is that you're not getting to stop to recover. So you would do something, recover, something you train, you see your heart rate come down quicker and quicker as you get more in shape. This is basically something you have to train to do with resting, but you're not doing a rest. Your rest is your run. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it sounds crazy.
Yeah.
It is a little crazy, actually. Yeah, your rest is your run, right.
And it's true, you have to just know, okay, in 30 seconds this is gonna feel better. Right now it feels horrible.
Yeah, one other thing I will say about the race itself, because I've heard a lot of people talk about this, and from our experience. So everyone talks about the danger of starting off too fast. And it is exciting, and like even they have like a little video at the beginning. It's like, are you ready to go? Yes. I mean, it's just like every example. I'm like, yes, let's do this. I'm gonna annihilate them. And then like we ran our first thing at a 7-minute mile pace, which is not.
I don't even know how I did
what
that.
we normally do.
No.
I mean, I can run that fast, but again, this is an endurance race. It's not a sprint, whatever. So that was a mistake to some extent. I feel like we still did really great and whatever, but that's may have been why I felt so bad after that, whatever, second or third station, is that was probably not the best way to start. So you mentally have to say, like, you have to slow yourself down, because it is truly an endurance race.
You have to remember,
it is not a speed race.
Yeah, you've got a lot of ways to go, and the worst thing that could happen would be to get, halfway through and be like, I gave too much in the beginning, I can't. So that was, but also it being your first time, you don't want to be too slow. So it's just something you're going to learn too with experience, and as you get more in shape with this type of thing, knowing how much you can give in the beginning and still being able to finish strong or to improve your time. I think we did pretty well, but yeah, it's hard not to get too amped. It's hard not to know, is it too much? Is it too little? Are we going to peter out and exercise 5?
Yeah, I mean, and we didn't, so that's good. Like, our runs did slow down, but yeah, I will caution you against that, because it feels so natural to just like, and I didn't even feel like, oh, I'm sprinting. I was like, I'm going at a good pace. I would have never thought like we were going at that fast of a pace.
I didn't even know,
like, because I felt fine.
Yeah,
I felt like, let's do it. So yeah,
I told Jen the first lap, I don't remember it being super hard, and the last two, I was like, I felt like I was really pushing myself, and we were a little slower. So obviously there's a lot of fatigue that set in by that time, but it's interesting. It's just very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of this is a mental game.
For sure.
Which is kind of a fun thing to test yourself of like, what are my limits, and can I push through when I felt like it's not possible? So I think there's a lot of rewarding things.
Yeah, you got to keep going when things are uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's why we do it. Okay,
so
race is finished.
The race is finished. I will say, one of our friends came and had a sign and stuff. Knew she was coming. Looking back, she took a few videos. Looking back, she's screaming my name.
Jen's name.
Jen, Jacket. No idea. Didn't see her, didn't hear her. This is where I'm saying, like, you just kind of get in the mental zone. Maybe not everyone's like that, but it was just kind of funny. So
yeah, she was at the end, and then we're like, oh, someone has a sign for you, but she had been throughout the whole race.
Yeah.
Funny.
So, anyways, we get done. It's a great feeling.
Great feeling.
There's actually a DJ like right at the end or whatever. They have the times, but we couldn't find our time.
Yeah, that was weird. It's not right there.
And there's like a little recovery zone where they have these comfortable chairs and a lot of water and like this protein water. So you can just stay there as long as you want, which is great.
How'd you feel? Body-wise?
Yeah, I like when I would visualize how I would feel, I thought I'd be, you see people like collapsing. I kind of thought I'd be that. It's your first one and it's like a hard thing.
Yeah.
I actually actually felt good. Like, I felt tired and I needed water, but I felt good, which is very weird. So I don't know if that means I should have like gone harder in some of the things maybe, but again, first one, you don't really know how to pace anything that much.
True.
But I felt a lot better than I thought I would.
Yeah.
I'll put it that way.
Good.
How'd you feel?
I felt good too. It's kind of the same. It's not like when we got done, I was like, oh my God, Def, I need to, definitely felt some fatigue in my legs, and I had some foot stuff happen in the middle. So my foot was bothering me at the end. And I feel like, so we were there for a little bit, maybe an hour, but I quickly, after maybe an hour, like I did feel just really tight. My hips felt tight, the foot was doing something, my low back felt a little tight. I think maybe the running, it was just a lot of volume of running. Jen
it's
seemed
on
to
like concrete.
Yeah.
It's not on, even a treadmill is probably a little softer than this. Like it's on hard ground.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm sure I was taking a much bigger stride than I'm used to. Could be a lot of things, but let's just say I felt a little gimpier than Jen by like an hour and a half because we went to dinner and stuff, and I felt like an old spry lady, and Jen was like trucking along. So, but not really, not fatigue wise, like, oh my God, we did get really tired by the time, but you have to keep in mind, we were up at 5:30, did the race, we were eating dinner around 7:30. And
I mean, you're burning 1,000 calories.
Yeah, so you're hungry, but your body is going, okay, let's get you some rest now.
I mean, I almost feel like the tiredness took over to where I was like, it's too much effort to eat something. I have to open my mouth. Like, it was very strange because I was hungry, but I was like, I gotta just go home. Like, I just hit a wall.
Yeah, the body is probably, even the excitement of everything, even this leading up 2 days, like the body's probably just going, whoo. So yeah, definitely tired by the evening. The next day I woke up, just again, not bad, just very stiff in everywhere from the waist down, which has just gotten better day over day. I mean, my calves were tight, my glutes, it's a number. Right?
I mean, it's just like not obviously something you're doing every day. We had done a lot of these exercises before, but
not to this
putting
extreme.
it all together, it's like, whoa, that's a long amount of time to just be doing all that stuff.
Yeah.
For your heart rate to be in whatever zone it was in.
Yeah, so I was telling Jen, it's really important in the next days after, like people think, oh, that's over. Not that she would, but I'm like, you want to keep all the things going that you probably did leading into. So staying really hydrated, maybe taking any of your supplements, walking, stretching, food. It's not a time to start under eating because a lot of that recovery is happening. That's how you're recovering. So that's just what I've been doing the last couple days in terms of, and I feel, how many days has it been? A couple days? I don't know.
It's Tuesday and it was on Saturday. So
yeah,
3
okay.
days.
So yeah, I mean, even yesterday, I'm like, fine. It's not like anything was ever fine. Just, a little creaky getting up and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
What have you been doing the last couple days?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously we had like a 5-hour car ride the next day, so that
didn't
was
help.
not great.
Yeah.
But I have just been walking our dog more than usual. I have gone to the gym every day, but done just kind of like low heart rate things, but just keep moving. Like I did the rower and running a little bit, but slow runs. Yesterday, I actually did strength training today. So I actually feel fine. Yeah, I don't feel like I did that on Saturday, to be honest with you. But I also think some of that is maybe the running background of like, that comes more naturally to me because that's what I used to do.
Sure.
So, I think it's good wisdom because really some people I feel like would maybe default to like, I'm taking a break forever.
Yeah.
And it's like, not the best plan.
No.
Like even if you're doing low intent, like you just need to keep moving. You don't have to you probably shouldn't push yourself, but just keep moving.
Yeah. It's just getting back to your week like any. Of course, you can honor if you were to feel a little tired or wanted to take it a little easier, I'm not saying go into your full-blown stuff. I've been lifting weights, but nothing crazy. Mainly because I don't want to do that while anything is still tightly bound. we don't need any snapping of anything going on. But yeah, I mean, we never stop moving, right? We're meant to move.
Yeah. One other thing, all that just reminded me of, the week before, I did get a massage. Shout out Alexis.
Yes.
She was like, saved my life.
Yes.
Because she was like, your quads are extremely tight. And I was like, okay.
Wonder
I mean, I knew that, but she was like, So anyways, highly recommend going to a good massage therapist the week before. Probably not like the day before, but sometime in the week before, because I feel like she worked out some like extreme tightness I was having, and it helped loosen things up. I mean, again, this is my first time to do this, so had I not done that, would I be tighter? I have no idea, but I do feel like it helped, and she like released a few things that did feel better afterwards. So
yeah, so speaking of, Jen just reminded me of something too that we kind of came up as we were training for this, was a lot more like mobility and foam roller work, because you're kind of left like, I guess maybe especially in the beginning or as your body's adapting, like anything. I mean, it's important anytime to wake the body up for the movement it's going to do, and then to help, recover the muscles afterwards, break up any tightness or boundness of the tissues. But not everyone does that, and I get it. It's like, how much time do I have to allocate to my body every single day? But that was something I remember that maybe we weren't doing as much, that we both were like, this is a non-negotiable if we're going to be training this way, especially when you're moving that fast. Like, you just can't afford to be like, I didn't loosen up first, I didn't prime the body first. So that was something that I know we both kind of was like, had to plan on doing that before sessions.
Yeah,
I'm just remembering
I'm the
that.
worst at that actually, so I'm getting better.
Yeah, and it's helpful, and it's important. Yeah,
for sure. Okay, one last thing that I thought about was kind of gear, of like what we wore.
that's a whole other thing.
Yeah,
That's
that's
true.
important. So let's start with shoes, because we both got new shoes for this.
Yeah.
Why don't you talk about your shoes?
Okay,
It's
well, I had a weird thing because of my foot that I hurt in June. So when we started this whole thing, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do this race, immediately start running, and I'm like, cool, my foot still hurts. It hadn't hurt at all. Thought I was healed over it, was not apparently. So I had to go through a little bit of searching for shoes, just because, I would start running, I had pain in my foot, and then I think I was compensating my hip. Again, I was like, wow, am I gonna be able to do this race? So I just by trial and error found that a harder surface felt better. So that was just a matter of shopping, trying, running. A lot of these places will let you return them, which was a godsend after you wear them. So I finally just found a pair that the pain went away, and I went with those. But you do need to make sure on the sled push. We saw some videos and stuff about people's shoes slipping out, heels slipping out of their shoes.
Yeah, so the recommendation I kept seeing was you need running shoes for sure, because you're running a lot. It's the majority of the race is running.
Yeah.
But they need to have good grip on the bottom. So trail runners, I ended up getting Ultras, which is
very
I think,
popular.
primarily like a hiking brand actually, that has 0 drop in their running shoes. But they have a wide toe box, which works well for me.
Yep.
So I'd recommend those, but I think anything, just keep in mind it needs to be a running shoe, because you need that level of support for,
and not loosey-goosey either, because you're doing stuff, even like the burpee broad jumps, right? There's a lot of flexion of the foot pushing off. So
yeah, so I can't remember what the way of tying your laces is, but I did it, whatever it is, of like there's a loop on each end, and then you're putting it together to make sure that your heel's not going to slip out when you are pushing the sled, and probably some other stuff too. So
a good thing to point out on this topic of any type of equipment, feet, this, food, really anything to go back to, is trying it before the race. So I remember we had talked about, like, I had gotten some new leggings, and it's like, you don't want to just start something for the first time the day of the race. You want to see how they feel in exercise. So even with the shoes, like, try pushing a sled with them. Do they come off? You know what I mean? So like,
literally test everything out that you're gonna wear, like from your shoes, your socks, to I had this like headband that I wasn't sure if I was gonna do or not.
Yeah.
And I wore it for 2 days, like two workouts before, because I just didn't, it's like, you don't want anything to be annoying you. What if something is rubbing the wrong way? Like, that is the last time that you want that to be happening.
Is it breathable?
So,
Is it comfortable? Is it not falling down when I bend over? Because it's not just running, you know, do I like squatting in this? Anything you can think of. Is it not too tight? Is it not digging into my traps? Same.
Yeah. So clothes is kind of whatever is breathable and comfortable. We kept hearing people talk about how hot it is in these things. Like, it didn't feel that hot to us, but I can imagine with like that many people
in different times of years, like when it's 108 out, it's probably gonna be hotter in the place you're in.
Yeah.
We had a
So
really mild temperature.
just breathable materials, and other than that, it's like what is comfortable for you for a long amount of time, both for running and these other things. And other than that, I feel like it's personal choice.
Yeah.
Really.
Test it out beforehand and you're golden.
You got people wearing sports bras
Yeah.
and leggings, you got people wearing tank tops, you got people wearing cotton shirts, like
All kinds of stuff.
whatever is comfortable for you that you feel good in, that's what you should do.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything else.
I can't think of anything else either at this exact second.
We are wanting to do another one. I'm saying we, because
And by
I
we,
think
you
she
mean
is, but I'm like,
No,
I for
just
sure
kidding.
am. Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
we have heard in the grapevine that there's one in Dallas in November.
Yeah.
I don't think that's like publicized yet, or I don't even know if that's for real, but
Yeah, we heard that through Bree, another trainer who did the first one, which is how I found out about it. And she says it's going to be like a yearly thing there in November. But when we were looking, we couldn't see the fall dates yet. So don't quote us on it, but we hope so, and that's what we've heard.
yeah, and
It's so close.
I've had a lot of people like just ask, how was your experience, and da-da-da. That's why we're doing this video, but it would be really fun to have a group of people doing this, whether it's like doubles, or I may try it by myself by that point, I don't know. But it would be really fun.
I would like to
do it with more
experience
people,
the relay, because you're doing less of the work, so you're doing a fourth of the work. But I think that would be fun, because just mentally knowing I got 25, 22, 20 minutes, whatever, to just go hard as I possibly can. It's almost a different feeling than this kind of pace. You're always going to have me at a sprintish type of a thing over a distance. So to me, and then you can like maybe pick your strengths and the exercises too, based off your team. And plus, it's just rad doing things with people. Like I remember doing relay stuff when I was younger and swimming, and it's fun. You just all root each other on. So to me, that would be fun.
Yeah.
For Dallas.
Yeah.
Or anything really, but I'm not doing
If
one
y'all
by
want to
myself.
do it, let us know. Send us a DM.
Yeah, we have a possibility.
Send me a DM.
We have a possibility of another baddie for a third for our relay. We need a fourth, so just reach out. You have plenty of time to train. You don't need to be stellar.
Listen, we have 3 months,
Yeah.
and I didn't say this, but I was in India for 2 of those months.
Sure.
But my training, I couldn't do a normal thing.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, the week leading up, you're not doing as much. So I feel like all in all, probably it was like really 2 months of training closer. So yeah, you don't need like a year on ramp to do this. I mean, if you're going from nothing, you need a little bit more maybe. But if you are active in some way now and maybe doing some strength training or whatever it is, you can do it.
Besides, like anything, you just need to start. People always want to be at a certain point to start. No, you just start and then you have your point. And I told Jen, like, you don't know anything you have to improve upon until you have a baseline of anything.
Yeah.
Right? So now we know, and now you can go work on things that you need to work on.
Yeah.
Just getting the first one under your belt.
One of the unique things about HYROX is that they publish, so you're wearing like this chip throughout the whole race. They publish all of your splits for everything of like, you did this here and these laps were this, and like very detailed data.
Basically,
and it's like publicly available to anyone
Yeah.
anywhere. So I could just search like, oh, I'm interested in like what the other doubles teams in our age group did at this specific race. Pull it up, and then you can just compare of like, they were running at this speed, I was running at this speed, so if I want to get this place, I need to run at this
Not
speed.
only
Like,
running
it's
though,
just-
your exercise splits too.
Yeah,
How long you
super
took at each
interesting.
station, in and out of what do they call that? The rock
The rock
zone.
zone, yeah.
So I was telling Jen, I'm like, where could we have improved? Because I'm like, I don't really feel like we were that slow. But you know, there's this little part you run in to get shit. So there you're kind of dwindling out, maybe catching your breath a little, maybe you need to. But I'm like, do people literally sprint in and out of there? And is that how you're knocking like 30 seconds off here?
The elite people do. If y'all want to watch, like...
But the point is they've given you those numbers. So you can be like, oh yeah, we took 50 seconds getting out from here to there.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. If you really, you know, wanted to get cray and we're trying to...
Yeah.
Like Jen does. Wants to nip all the time off. So yeah, the stats are amazing to have, for sure.
Yeah. Both for just like improving your own stuff, but then if you are competitive, I'm not gonna lie, night before I'm looking up, I'm like, Rachel, here's the plan if we are to beat these people. That's what I do for fun.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that's a cool part of it too. Just even for like pushing yourself and improving yourself the next time.
Yes, absolutely. We had a blast, 100%. People are, would you do it again? Yes, I would do it again. I could see myself doing one a year or something. Like anything, you got to have time to dedicate to it. So, you know, full-time athletes are full-time job. But yeah, 100% recommend the experience.
And I think if you like the type of training that's like, I do want some cardio, but I want strength, like, I mean, what they're calling this is like, oh, hybrid athlete.
Hybrid sport.
I think that's maybe my zone actually, because I do have like more of the running cardio background. I was doing only cardio for a long time, and now I'm really enjoying the strength stuff. But I probably am somewhere in the middle. But I would say if you just for your life want to do some cardio, but also get stronger, like this would be a good way to do that and commit to that type of training schedule and then have something fun to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a good eye opener for me as getting, you know, I've done kind of mainly strength. Well, I mean, obviously I've always done strength, but I've done a little bit more of this high intensity stuff, but like maybe a little bit more back in the day. So when we started this again, I was like, okay, like this is no joke. So I think as we age, it's just always important to keep your body doing everything. You know what I mean? It's only gonna do it if you ask it to do it. So I loved switching up my training for a few months and incorporating, like Jen said, it's just a switch up. We all get in ruts in all different ways. So it's definitely a fun way to train and to implement here and there. For sure, for me it was.
Yeah.
And it made me be like, oh God, I gotta start incorporating like a high intensity day at least, because it had gotten down to like pure kind of strength. And it is a fun way to train. It's exhilarating.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, you see a lot of people talking about this because it is like a straight up endurance event. It's a big accomplishment even just to do this in the first place. So that feeling of like, I freaking did this, you know, whatever your time is or whatever, like I am motivated by that. But I think for people that maybe aren't as competitive, but just want something to really challenge themselves and to look forward to, and to have that sense of accomplishment of like, I did this, because it's probably a small percentage of the population that could do that.
I think I told Jen when we were driving down, I was like, just so you know, like to me, I've already won. Like I said I was gonna do this thing. I've trained for it for 3 months. You know, we've had to make adjustments in our lives to do it, to get down there, whatever, in our businesses, to make sure we're focused on getting done what we need to get done in training and in life. So yeah, we're driving down there. I'm like, to me, I've already won. I mean, we're gonna go do this race, but we said we were gonna do it. We've seen it through. We're here. We're participating. It's great.
And I would say just like, I don't know, it's been really interesting. Even I've, you know, posted about this and just kind of the conversation that's generating from this. And I think people just see someone doing this and they're like, oh, that's so crazy. Like I could never do that. You could do it.
Yeah.
Like literally less than 2 years ago, I was doing hardly anything.
Yeah.
Like I'm kind of an active person in general. Like I'm not sitting on the couch all the time, but I really was not intentionally training anything. Started strength training with Rachel, and then less than 2 years later, I'm doing this like crazy endurance event. So all that to say, you don't have to have this like insane background or whatever. Just like commit to it. Get the support that you need. Don't be crazy and like hurt yourself. That's why I say like hire someone that knows what they're doing, but you could do it. If this looks fun,
Yeah.
I feel like you could do it.
Yeah, you don't have to be some top athlete. It is for the everyday person. Obviously, you want to prepare and do it wisely. But yes, I remember when I met Jen, and I know she has this background, but when I met her, I was doing my women's weightlifting, and I remember some of her first classes, and I'm just picturing like literally 8-pound dumbbells and like struggling, or even, you know, being just very winded and like I need to sit down for a second for body weight lunges. So the body is amazing. You can kind of have it do nothing for a while, and it's really going to come back for you with not these huge gestures or, you know, crazy trainings. It's just really the cumulative effect of being consistent over time. Yes, you have to show up, but like Jen travels a lot too, so she's had breaks and she's kept it going as best as possible on those trips. But always she comes back and she's, you know, there's never these massive gaps.
Yeah, I feel like people may have the perception of like, no, this is your whole life. Like this is not my whole life.
No.
This is a very small portion of my life.
Yeah.
It happens to be something I talk about because I am passionate about it and I've reaped a lot of rewards, even aside from the physical stuff. But I have a very busy life. We all do, right?
Yeah.
We all have different things. And to me, to her point, like it's just, to me, it's been very consistent small steps over time. And here we are. Like it's just keeping your word to yourself.
Exactly.
So,
okay, so
that's
join
all
us
we
on
have.
the next one.
Coffee talk. Let us know if you have any other questions, but yeah.
We're hoping this will be helpful for anyone considering it, for any first timers, because obviously the first time of anything is just can be daunting, and we had so many questions. So hopefully,
didn't even know what it was.
Yeah.
So it's like we've gone from there to like having done it, and it can be very intimidating.
Even with all the questions, you do get answered, right? And then you have to do one, and you're like, oh, okay. So yeah, hopefully helpful in some way to anyone starting out. Cheers.